Meet Lina, a young woman with dreams far bigger than the tiny, crumbling apartment she called home. Every morning she woke up before the sun, her hands calloused from years of work that seemed endless, but even when life knocked her down, she smiled, a kind of smile that said, nice try, life, but I'm tougher than you. The bustling streets of her city knew her well, a girl with an old backpack, a million little hopes tucked inside, and shoes so worn that even the pavement pitied her. But oh, Lina, she had something no money could buy. Heart. And that heart? It was about to rewrite her destiny in ways she could have never imagined. Now, imagine this, a girl like her, humble to the core, suddenly stepping into a world of private jets, mansions so grand you'd get lost walking to the kitchen, and, oh yeah, the mysterious millionaire who came with all of it. But wait, did I mention he was paralyzed? And his story, just as intriguing as hers. This wasn't a fairy tale, not the kind you read in books. No, this was a love story dipped in mystery, conflict, and a splash of fate. Buckle up, it's about to get very interesting. And then there was Khalid, the kind of man who once commanded rooms with nothing but his presence. Wealth? Oh, he had it all. Cars, with doors that opened upward, a closet that looked more like a luxury store, and a name whispered in every corner of the business world. But Khalid wasn't your typical rich guy, flashing wealth for attention. No, he was the type who'd sit in the corner of a party, sipping his drink, silently studying everyone with those sharp eyes that now carried a shadow of pain. Once a man of unstoppable power, now bound to a wheelchair, a cruel reminder of an accident that seemed too suspicious to call fate. Khalid had built walls around his emotions so high you'd think he hired a team of architects to design them. Trust, not in his vocabulary anymore. Loneliness, his quiet, loyal companion. People tried to enter his world for one reason, his wealth, but then came Lina with her old shoes, calloused hands, and an aura so genuine it made you wonder if goodness could actually still exist. She wasn't supposed to mean anything to him, just a solution to a problem his family wouldn't stop nagging about. But life has a way of laughing at plans, doesn't it? Picture this. Khalid, a man who thought he'd closed off his heart forever, meeting a girl who didn't care about his status, his money, or the pity party society had thrown for him. She saw him, the real him, beyond the wheelchair, beyond the closed-off exterior, and for the first time, Khalid began to feel something stir deep inside. But oh, don't get too comfortable. This isn't just a love story, it's a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. Secrets, yeah, they don't stay buried for long, and when they surface, they bring chaos in their wake. The only question is, can love survive what's about to come? But let's not forget how it all began. A proposal that was anything but romantic. One day, Khalid, cornered by his well-meaning but overbearing family, made a decision. A wife. Not for love, not for passion, but for convenience. Someone to silence the endless whispers about his loneliness and his incomplete life. The candidates? A parade of glamorous women who treated his home like a photo shoot, and him like an accessory. He hated every second of it, and then, like a gust of fresh air, Lina entered the scene. She wasn't like the others, no fake smiles, no rehearsed lines. She walked into his grand mansion like she didn't belong, yet somehow owned every moment. Khalid noticed the slight tremor in her hands as she nervously clutched the strap of her bag, but beneath the nerves there was something else. Strength, authenticity. Lina had no intentions of marrying a millionaire, much less one confined to a wheelchair. But life isn't known for asking permission before it changes everything, is it? The offer came with strings. Strings so golden they sparkled, money for her family, security her parents had only dreamed of, but also a deal, one that lacked love or emotion. And yet there was something about him, about Khalid. Behind the cold facade, behind the aloof eyes, was a man who seemed more trapped in his mind than his body. Lina didn't fall in love with his wealth, no. What captivated her was his vulnerability, even if he fought tooth and nail to hide it. But here's where it gets interesting. This marriage wasn't going to be a straightforward ride. It was about to become the center of a web full of lies, betrayal, and a truth so shocking it would shake everything to its core. And Lina, she wasn't ready for what she'd just stepped into, or maybe she was the only one who could face it. Their wedding day was nothing short of a spectacle. Golden chandeliers, velvet drapes, and guests dressed like they were auditioning for a royal ball. But amidst all the glitz and glamour, there stood Lina in a simple yet elegant gown, her heart pounding louder than the orchestra playing in the background. Khalid, sitting in his wheelchair at the end of the aisle, was a picture of stoic calm. He wasn't the groom eagerly waiting for his bride. No, he was the man sealing a deal, his expression unreadable like a poker player holding his cards close. As they exchanged vows, the air in the room felt heavy. Khalid's voice was steady, almost detached, as if the words meant little. But Lina, she spoke with a quiet determination, her eyes locking onto his as if silently saying, "I'm here, whether you like it or not." Little did she know those words would be truer than she could ever imagine. The days following the wedding were awkward, to say the least. Khalid buried himself in his work, rarely speaking unless necessary, while Lina navigated the sprawling mansion that felt more like a gilded cage. Every hallway seemed to echo with secrets, every glance from the staff carried a mix of pity and curiosity. And Khalid? He was like a locked door she couldn't open, his emotions hidden behind layers of sarcasm and icy indifference. But Lina wasn't one to give up easily. One evening, as she brought him tea, she asked a simple question, a question that unexpectedly cracked his armor. "Do you ever wish things were different?" For a moment, Khalid's eyes softened, the weight of his hidden pain surfacing briefly before he quickly pushed it back down. "Wishing is for the naive," he replied coldly. But Lina caught it, a flicker of vulnerability, like a light trying to break through the cracks of his hardened exterior, and just when it seemed like they might begin to understand each other, the shadows of Khalid's past began to creep into their fragile new life. A mysterious phone call, whispers among the staff, and a locked drawer in his study that Lina couldn't ignore. Something wasn't right, and her instincts told her that this marriage, this man, held secrets far more dangerous than she'd ever imagined. What was Khalid hiding? And more importantly, would Lina have the courage to find out? Because once the truth comes out, there's no going back. Lina couldn't shake the feeling that Khalid's mansion was more than just an architectural masterpiece. It was a fortress built to protect secrets, not just walls. One evening, curiosity got the better of her. As she passed Khalid's study, she noticed it. His locked drawer, the one he never let anyone near. The polished wood seemed almost too inviting, like a forbidden treasure chest, daring her to open it. She stood there, hesitant, her heart racing as fast as her thoughts. Was it worth the risk? What if he caught her? But something deeper drove her, a voice in her head whispering, "You need to know what's really going on." Lina didn't see herself as the type to pry, but this wasn't ordinary prying, this was survival. So late that night, when Khalid had gone to bed, she tiptoed into the study. The drawer's lock was no match for a hairpin and a determined soul. As the drawer creaked open, Lina froze. Inside was a collection of papers, photos, and letters. She grabbed the stack and quickly skimmed through them. Names she didn't recognize, dates that didn't add up, and then she saw it, a letter written to Khalid, unsigned but unmistakably threatening. "You thought you could walk away unscathed? Accidents happen, some worse than others." Her breath caught. The implications were chilling. Khalid's paralysis wasn't an accident, it was a message. Someone had done this to him deliberately, and they weren't done. Lina's mind raced with questions. Who could harbor so much hatred against him, and why hadn't he told her? The next morning, Khalid immediately sensed that Lina wasn't herself. "What's on your mind?" he asked, his voice sharp with suspicion. But Lina, determined to tread carefully, brushed it off with a practiced smile. She wasn't ready to confront him yet, not until she pieced together more of the puzzle. But this wasn't a secret that could stay buried for long. As Lina started to quietly investigate, strange things began happening. Khalid's phone calls grew more frequent and heated, his tone laced with an edge of fear she hadn't seen before. Lina's every step around the house seemed shadowed, and her instincts screamed that someone didn't want her digging further. The walls of the mansion weren't just protecting secrets, they were closing in on her. Lina knew she was caught in something far bigger than she'd bargained for. And the deeper she went, the closer she got to uncovering a truth so shocking it could destroy everything. Lina couldn't stop replaying the words from that letter in her head. Accidents happen, some worse than others. They were like a taunting melody she couldn't escape. Who hated Khalid enough to do this to him, and why was he so determined to hide it? With each passing day, her determination grew. She needed answers, but to get them, she'd have to dig deeper, take bigger risks, and tread into places that were far from safe. Her first stop, the household staff. Lina had always been kind to them, sharing small conversations in between her tasks. One of the older maids, Fatima, had worked for Khalid since he was a teenager and seemed to know more about his life than anyone else. Catching her alone in the kitchen one day, Lina struck up a conversation. After a few minutes of light chatter, Lina gently prodded, "Fatima, what really happened to Khalid? I mean, before the accident?" The older woman froze, her hands trembling slightly as she arranged plates on the counter. "Madam, some questions are better left unanswered," Fatima said, her voice low, almost a whisper, but her eyes betrayed fear. Fear of what? Lina leaned closer. "I'm his wife. Don't you think I deserve to know?" she urged. Fatima hesitated, then finally said, "Be careful who you trust. Not everyone in this house serves Khalid as loyally as you think." That cryptic warning only fueled Lina's resolve. Days later, as Khalid left for a business meeting, Lina used the time to dig deeper into his private files. That's when she stumbled across a name, Ziad al-Salem. It appeared repeatedly in documents linked to Khalid's company. Bank transactions, contracts, and even legal disputes, all circling back to this man. But who was Ziad? And what did he have to do with Khalid's accident? Determined to find out, Lina visited the local library where she uncovered news archives about Ziad, a former business partner turned rival. Their partnership had crumbled years ago over accusations of embezzlement. Khalid had won the legal battle, but Ziad had vanished after the verdict. Could he be the one behind the threats and the accident? The pieces were falling into place, but it was a dangerous game Lina was playing. That evening, Khalid returned home, visibly tense. He didn't even ask how her day went, he just retreated to his study. But Lina couldn't hold back anymore. She confronted him. "I know about Ziad," she said, her voice steady but filled with determination. Khalid's head shot up, his eyes narrowing. For a moment he said nothing, the silence heavy with tension. Then he spoke, his voice icy. "You've been snooping in things you don't understand." "Don't I? I understand someone hurt you, Khalid. Someone's still threatening you, and you're sitting here acting like nothing's happening?" She fired back. Khalid's jaw tightened. "You think I don't know that? You think I don't wake up every day knowing what he's done to me? But if you dig too deep, Lina, you'll make yourself a target too." "Maybe I already am," she said, locking eyes with him. In that moment, Khalid realized something he hadn't before. Lina wasn't afraid. She was standing in the storm with him, unshaken, determined to fight for the truth. And that was when everything began to unravel. The game was no longer just Khalid's to play. Lina had joined it, and she wasn't backing down, but neither was Ziad. And what came next would test them in ways neither could have imagined. The revelation about Ziad changed everything. Khalid could no longer pretend that his dark past wouldn't catch up with him. But what neither of them expected was how close danger really was. It wasn't just Ziad lurking in the shadows. There were people within Khalid's own mansion who were playing both sides, feeding information to the man who'd vowed revenge. One night, Lina woke to faint whispers outside their bedroom door. As she stepped into the hallway, she saw a shadow retreat into the darkness. Her heart pounded as she followed, her bare feet silent against the cold marble floor. The trail led her to the servants' quarters, where she overheard two voices arguing in hushed tones. One of them mentioned Khalid's accident and how the boss wasn't pleased with the progress. The realization struck her like lightning. Ziad had a mole in the house. Lina ran back to the room, shaken but determined. She woke Khalid, her urgency breaking through his usual wall of indifference. "They're in the house, Khalid. Someone's feeding him everything." His face darkened. For the first time, Khalid's fear and anger boiled to the surface. "We can't wait anymore. If Ziad wants to play, we'll bring the fight to him," he said. But Lina wasn't satisfied with just surviving. She wanted to understand, to uncover the truth about Khalid and his haunting silence, and then the bombshell dropped. Khalid revealed the final piece of the puzzle, a chilling confession he had buried deep. Ziad's betrayal wasn't just about business. Years ago, during a critical deal, Khalid uncovered Ziad's fraudulent activities. But instead of reporting him to the authorities, Khalid made a miscalculated decision. He blackmailed Ziad into walking away from the partnership, sparing his reputation but destroying his loyalty. Ziad vowed revenge. "I underestimated him, Lina," Khalid admitted, his voice tinged with regret. "And now, you're paying for my mistake." But Lina refused to play the victim. Instead, she formulated a bold plan with Khalid, one that would expose Ziad's network, reveal his mole, and end his vendetta once and for all. What followed was a whirlwind of strategy, danger, and drama. Khalid's vast resources, combined with Lina's relentless courage, created an unstoppable force. As they set their plan in motion, it was clear the stakes couldn't be higher. The final confrontation with Ziad was inevitable, but would they make it out unscathed? Or would this battle claim everything they had fought to build together? Now here's the real question. Can love truly conquer all, even when it's built on the ashes of secrets, betrayal, and danger? Khalid and Lina's story is far from over. Stay tuned for the explosive finale, where hearts will break, truths will surface, and the ultimate price of vengeance will be revealed. Subscribe now and don't miss the twists and turns that'll leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about loyalty, love, and redemption.